Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Well, it's a Monday, the 16th of January, 2022, and in the United States, it's a holiday. However, Giga Texas is very busy, especially with production of Model Ys, which is going on today despite the holiday. There's a couple of things I want to talk about in the video intro before we get into it. As you can see over here on the southwest side of the highway where they've been doing that large clearing, and they've put some gravel mix on it and also been putting some of the markers for parking spaces. And as you can see here, this is how the progress has been made in the last 48 hours. Now, in my previous video, I was speculating that they might be making this for the warehouse on wheels further expansion. But instead, looking at the spacing of all of these markers, this is probably going to be a parking lot. And what I think might happen is, as you can see here over the east side, this parking lot may be moved over to the southwest side so that they can free up that space for the warehouse on wheels. But it's a very interesting development, which I'm continuing to monitor. Another thing I want to show you is, you can see here, this is on the south side, just south of the cyber pond, where they've had a lot of the steel and other materials stored for quite some time. As you can see in this image, there are several yard trucks that appear to be loading up some of this material and moving it away from here. So I can't say for sure because I only had a small glimpse of time, but if that is true, then this may be preparation for some further construction on the south end, which is kind of exciting to see. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, as you can see up here, up at the battery cathode plant, that west facility, which is the die shop, as we've been discussing recently, is coming along. A lot more steel is being put on the east side heading to the south. We can see some of the roof decking that is going on. And then right now, this morning, there's also some active concrete being poured in several of the footings to the south. And also on the west side, as you can see here, they are re-excavating and clearing out that heavily, densely piered section. And it looks like they're doing this so they can prepare for the next phase of steel construction on this side of the building as well, which is really great to see. Now, if you haven't seen, I did a video yesterday, the 15th of January, where we did a lot of speculation, and admittedly, a lot of it is detective work, looking at what we see on the site, trying to put some pieces together, but it's very much a speculation piece, and I did that because I'm trying to get inputs from everybody. So take a look at that video, see what we talk about, and let me see your comments as well. I think it would be very helpful as we continue to watch the construction of this die shop next to the cathode building. Otherwise, I hope you had a great weekend. It's a little bit longer here in the United States because of the holiday, but otherwise, as always, thank you very much for watching and for your outstanding support. Have a great week coming up.
A special thank you to all of my outstanding Patreons for your continued encouragement and support. Patreon members get access to hundreds of high-resolution photos, previews of the future material, and direct dialogue with me. If you would like to support my channel, please consider becoming a patron using this link, which is also in the video description. Please also consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. We're starting off on the southwest of the highway today in this section that has been cleared, the grade improved and leveled gravel mix, and now markers for parking. Now, in my previous video, I speculated this might be for the warehouse on wheels expansion, but if you look at the spacing here, as many of my viewers have pointed out, this looks like it's more like a parking lot, and it's very possible that this will be to replace the temporary parking lot that they installed just to the north side of the east warehouse on wheels, and this will allow all of those contractor vehicles to be parked here, clearing up that area for more trailers. So we'll see if that is in fact the case. Now you can also see here that there is more earth work to remove some of these hills, flatten out the grade on this side of the warehouse on wheels expansion and material storage location. This will give you a good idea of what this is looking like. Perhaps we will see more construction on this side of the highway, and kind of curious to see what this will turn out to be, but it looks like this whole area is getting more level and more flat on a wider portion of the side of the highway. And you can see how the material storage looks today. It continues to have materials moved away, and it's slowly clearing out, while the east expansion of the warehouse on wheels has a lot of trucks today. These tend to be the empty ones after they are unloaded in the factory and then moved over here. And so we'll see if these are going to be removed from here and put back to the north side of the east warehouse on wheels, or if they'll continue to have both in operation. But anyway, that's the activity here on this side of the highway. So let's get ready to cross back over and take a look at the main construction site. So one of the things that I noticed when I arrived on site was there was activity here on the south side of the cyber pond, particularly with a lot of these steel components. You can see some of the trucks in the center of the screen, some yard trucks as well. And it was not completely clear to me if these were new parts being delivered or parts being prepared to be moved away. I think that if you can see that forklift in the center of the screen with that lighter color steel, I think that they may actually be delivering this steel here. These look like they are still beams, and I haven't seen any columns, but this is something I'm going to monitor as we're getting closer to construction beginning on the building extension on this side of the factory. Now, as I turn the drone towards the east, you notice that there's more materials here on this east side of the temporary road, and I will zoom in a little bit so you can take a look at what these are. But it looks like more of the steel pipes and also some steel rectangular sections as well. Also some of that blue and green material that's wrapped in that plastic. So it continues to have more stuff and material and parts put on this side of the factory. So I think this is yet another sign of construction at the near future. So something to be looking forward to at the end of January and into February. But you can see the plumbing work on the bottom of the screen, the east side of the stamping machine structure with those parts for the AIDA stamping machine. And then as I turn back towards the southwest, you can get an idea of how this entire south end appears today. There's still some piles of debris that need to be cleaned up, and some other underground prep work before they can begin the next phase of the construction here. As I move towards the platform here, I noticed this truck was delivering some large components, and we'll get a chance to follow the activity here in a second as this green forklift comes in. And what we're going to find is it's a very large singular package that is in this trailer, and then it will be lifted up on top of that platform. Also, while we're watching this activity, you can see a little bit into that open door on top of the platform, where there's quite a bit of materials and activity going on up in that section of the General Assembly as well. So here we'll see this forklift pulling out this very large container or equipment that's wrapped up in this white plastic. And they get it most of the way out of the truck, but then they needed to get another forklift over to help because of the size of it. So this is about all I'm going to be able to show you right now, but this just gives you a good idea of the size of some of the materials that are being delivered. Also, as you can see here, Model Y production is continuing despite the holiday. It's very active here. These cars are lined up to be driven over to the east staging and transportation lot. And others are being supercharged, all of which have recently just come out of the south end of the building, and you can see more of the Model Ys next to the building and on this overflow lot to the left. Also, here's a good view of that new trailer, which I think is an office for the construction work for this south side. In fact, I'm going to pull the drone up and back so you can get a good view of the entire south end, how it appears today, and also all of the materials that are stored just to the south of the cyber pond. And as mentioned, it's something I'm going to monitor to see if we're seeing of this material departing or if more material is arriving. And either way, I think this is a great sign that we're going to see some more construction here soon. And once that begins, we'll start getting a feel for how this section of the building, once it's extended, will appear. So as I pull over towards the southeast corner, you can take a look down, and the section with the excavator just at the bottom of the screen looks like they're continuing to put a few last-minute parts and concrete manhole covers where there's the underground HDPE pipe that was installed by the underground horizontal drilling operation. And here we can see how this material staging location appears today. Lots of trailers, lots of vehicles, and also I wanted to give you an idea of how this clearing appears. Looks like they continue to bring more dirt over here, and the grade continues to be raised up, but then they excavate it again. So I think this is still continuing to be a temporary dirt storage location until it's needed at other points around the site for construction. Here is the east side smaller parking lot that serves as a testing location and also charging. You can see that Model Y, it looks like it's charging at the superchargers, which is another indication that those are operational as well. I also wanted to show you this two areas where the new receiving docks are. The concrete apron, the one on the left, has now got rebar being installed, as we figured would happen soon. So concrete there. The one on the right looks like it's still having final parts of the underground plumbing done, and then we'll see more rebar and then concrete. The HVAC ducting installation on top of the body and white roof looks nearly completed, and I'm just waiting to see if they're going to put some sort of tops on those 8 ducting enclosures, but otherwise most of that work is completed. So let's get ready to go to the west side of General Assembly and take a look at some new developments with the west main entrance. So as we arrive at the west main entrance, you can immediately see quite a bit of activity next to the glass main doors, with some interesting designs starting to take shape with these trenches. So I'll try to give you a good view of what's going on. You can see that the grade has been improved in such a way that it's highest by the glass doors and then tapers to either side. And then these trenches are forming some sort of design. It's almost starting to emerge, but I don't know exactly what it is. If you happen to have an idea, let me know. But I'm assuming that these trenches are for irrigation, which means we may see a lot of landscaping in this particular area. But to be honest, this is taking a turn that I did not expect. I don't know if you did or not, but it's always interesting at Giga Texas because there's always surprises in store when I arrive at the site, and this is definitely one of them today. But I'll just give you a little bit different perspective of the work that is going on here. Again, quite a bit of these trenches, and some of the pipe that they're putting in is gray, which would actually indicate most likely electrical conduits. So I don't know. My guess is we'll have to wait and see, but let me know what your thoughts are in the comments of the video. As we proceed a little bit further to the north, I want to show you the continued development here where the receiving doors are continuing to expand. They are doing this by removing the temporary wall panels, and you can see these green load levelers being installed. These were stored west across the highway, and we mentioned that previously to expect to see some of them installed here. And also here at the middle bottom of the screen, you can see some of the wall panels that have been removed and the door panels that have been opened up, and the black cargo doors installed as well. So the expansion of the receiving doors on this side of the building continues, and it's really great to see that activity. I'm going to turn the drone around and give you a view on the northwest corner HVAC ducting work, and all of the cooling enclosures on the left have been completed now, and the ducts on the right, looks like most except for one are completed, and the parts are waiting for further assembly. So I'm going to pull away and give you an overall view of the north end of the building before we continue on to the electrical switch yard. As I started to turn the drone around, I noticed that there was a transport truck with a bunch of Model Ys. You can see it in the bottom right-hand corner of the image. I'll try to trace them a little bit. You can see them departing off to the north of the factory, and that should be up to the railhead near Taylor, Texas. And while we are here, I'll give you a good view of this section of earthwork that has been resumed in the last couple of days. Again, this is where the Megapack battery electric storage system will eventually be installed once more of this earthwork is completed. In the background, you can see the battery cathode plant, and then that west new structure, which is the die shop. You can also see in the middle of the screen the temporary switch yard, and also just how much of the dirt that's being removed to continue to level out this triangular section of the site where the Megapacks will be. It should eventually expand to be a rectangular section when they are completed. As I pull away a little bit further, I'll just give you an idea of how the new large steel power poles appear. They are the 4 lighter gray versus the darker gray that have been here for a while, and those were installed in the last week. This will be important for the high tension wires to be connected to the electrical switch yard. As we continue back towards the south, we'll get a little bit lower, and I'll show you some of the activity here at the electrical switch yard. It looks like there's a little bit of trenching on the northeast corner going on right now. I'm not sure if that's part of the cable tray trench or if it's something in addition to that. But you can see the steel assembly and how that has progressed to date, and the cable tray trenches, which are heading from the east to the west. They have some temporary covers so that the vehicles can drive over them on the bottom of the cable tray trenches. And as we continue to maneuver towards the south, you can see the stack of cable tray trench railing systems right next to that bulldozer with the small excavator. You can also see some more excavation work going in and amongst some of the steel next to those 2 A-frame structures. And I'll bring the drone up a little bit higher so we can get a good view of not only those 2 A-frame structures, but also the 2 concrete pads where the transformers will be installed. Still don't see the transformers on site, but hopefully we'll see those later this week as progress on the electrical switch yard continues. So let's head over towards the battery cathode plant and see some of the extreme changes that have been happening with the west structure over the last 48 hours. Actually, I noticed this on the way over to the cathode plant. You can see these blue water pipes, the excavation work near the trees, that small trench box, and the rest of the installation that is going on. What I believe is that this is the water that will be connected to the water main and then come over to this entire structure. Actually, the west structure, the main battery cathode plant as well. And then down the center, you'll see more of that blue pipe being installed. We'll see that a little bit later. But right now, you see quite a bit of activity with footing installation and excavation on the left-hand side of the screen, some of the concrete pours that are going on in the middle, and some other work on the right-hand side of the screen. You can also see more preparation of the grade where they're adding additional steel components working to the south on this east side of the building. and then some other work we'll see in a little bit closer up on that west side. But you can see that blue pipe going down the middle of this section. That will eventually connect to the blue pipe we talked about earlier by the trees, and that'll connect it to the main water main. And here is a closer view of the work that's going on with the steel structure. You can see it's nearly doubled in length towards the south now, with quite a bit of activity. Also see the steel roof decking is being applied, and we'll get a better view of that in just a bit. On this side, we can see quite a bit more of the iron pipes being assembled, some of the white insulating material being painted onto them, and then the installation onto that steel structure. There's also a new gray electrical component that arrived in the last 48 hours. We can also see more of the iron pipes here on the north side, and also some of the concrete vaults. So it looks like the installation of these piping systems is getting ready to really accelerate. You can also see a larger one at the underneath of that steel structure as well. And speaking of which, this is a better view of the roof decking that is being applied, and the work here on the densely packed piers. This is going to be where some very heavy machinery is installed. You can also see the bridge crane rail on the west end of the building right now, and that will proceed over this entire section. This is a good view of the ongoing footing installation and construction, as well as some of the concrete pours. And this also gives you a good view of the grade that's been prepared, where they're getting ready to expand the building both to the west and to the south. So anyway, quite a bit of extreme progress and very rapid pace going on with this die shop. And you can see more of the steel here waiting for its turn to be assembled onto that building. So we're going to proceed up to the north, and this is a good view of that temporary storage location with quite a bit of machinery that will be installed into that new building. Also, this gives you a good view of the continuing earthwork here to remove that central hill, flatten out the grade, use some of this dirt in other sections of construction around the site. And also in the upper left, you can see that the material storage in that field continues to grow larger. And I didn't get a chance to see that close up today, but I will in a future video. But as we continue to turn around, you can see this work that's going on here with some of the earthwork, and just how this north side, this northeast side of the battery cathode plant continues to change. Also, we can see where some of the dirt's being used here in this newly reclaimed section of the water detention ponds, and this looks like it's being prepared for possibly a parking lot or maybe some material staging at some point in the future. Speaking of which, this is a good view of this east side material staging location with more steel, more equipment, and more various parts that have been delivered and continue to be delivered here. So this is continuing to grow and expand as well. So that's a quick view of Giga Texas on this Monday, the 16th of January 2023. It's a federal holiday today, but things are very busy here on the site. Production is continuing at a fast rate despite the holiday, and a lot of progress all over the site. I hope you enjoyed what you saw in the video today, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate the support, and I hope you have a great rest of this week. Take care.